Hey, what is going on, guys? Welcome back to another video. Sorry, my voice might sound a bit weird because I have a sore throat, so sorry for that. So today we're going to talk about Chrome Developer Console. It is going to be the part 2 of a video I made a couple of months back. So if you haven't watched that video, go ahead. I'll put a link in the description as well as in the I button. Go ahead, watch it. So today we're going to talk about two tabs particularly in the Chrome Developer Console, that is the network tab and the performance tab. If you want me to make a video on the memory tab as well, let me know. Let's get started. So first, let me just open the Chrome Developer Console for YouTube. We'll just analyze YouTube and try to find out what do we get inside the network tab. Okay, so the network tab is basically a tab in the Chrome console where you see all those requests, all those HTTP requests or any type of request which is being done from the browser by the site which you are currently on, and you can analyze that traffic and try to find out what's going on or what the site is actually requesting. This is very handy when you are doing web development, because you're calling a bunch of APIs and then there is one API request which messed up or took maybe a lot of time, or there was some error, and how do you find out what error was it and how do you analyze that problem particularly, and that's where network tab will help you a lot. So let me just reload this page once more and let's take a look at what happens in the network tab. So as you can see, there are a lot of things there are a lot of entries into this network table, where you have name, status, type, initiator, size, time, and waterfall. And what items are basically, these are all the scripts and resources which are needed for the browser to render the website for you. So it includes images, it includes JavaScript, it includes CSS, it includes fonts. Each of these are resources which are requested by the browser to the server, and these were loaded on the network or downloaded from the server and then used to render the website. So what you get is basically the status. So it says 200, which means it was a successful request and I got a response for it. So you can just click on it and see what was the thing which was sent by the browser and what was received by the browser for that particular request. So whenever the browser requested for this URL, this particular URL, you got this response, and this is a huge chunk of code which looks pretty cryptic, because it has gone through a process which is called minification, which we'll probably talk in a video in the future. So this is basically the thing which was loaded and used by the website or by the browser to basically render the web page. So these are all basically resources. And another thing is, basically you can see the time required for each of these to download. So this really helps when you are trying to optimize performance of your website. So for example, if you have a website which takes a lot of time, so you can exactly pinpoint which file or which document requires a lot of time for it to download and then render onto the page. This, which we referred earlier, took around 86 milliseconds, which is pretty fast. And then what you have here is basically a waterfall where it basically describes the breakdown of that 780 milliseconds that it took for downloading this particular document. So it was waiting for 117 or 118 milliseconds, and then for actual content download it required over 161 milliseconds. So this is really good insights when you're trying to optimize the load times of your website. You can do things like you can filter out. So for example, these are 1,000 resources and just want to just look at remote. You just know the name of the file which is going to be downloaded over the network. So you can just write in remote, and it will just filter it out for you. You can filter out based on the type as well. So for example, if I want to just look at XHR requests, I can just click on XHR and then it will just give me those XHR requests. I just want to see what JS was downloaded, then I can just click on the JS button right here, and it's not a toggle, it's a button, and you can just click through and find out which JS files were downloaded by YouTube. So I think that's gonna wrap up for the network tab. So now let's just jump on to performance tab. And again, this is really great when you're debugging something. So I just want to record how much time does it take, or what really happens inside the browser when I click on a video, like what files are being called, what functions are called, how much time do they take. If you want to take a look at it, or if you want to analyze it, performance tab is the one that you're looking for. So what you do is basically you click this, so you start recording what the browser does. So I'll just click on this and I'll click this video and probably kill the voice, and I'll just stop. And then I know what really happens inside the browser right from when I click the video till it being loaded, and then again I think being stopped. At first this might look really overwhelming, like there are a lot of things on your on this tab which you won't understand right off the bat when you're talking about 60 fps. So for example, so most of the websites they aim to get 60 fps so that it looks smooth to the end user, and it's a huge part of user experience. So whenever the frame rate drops below 60 fps, you get these red I'll just maybe make it more bigger. Yeah, you get this red line up here. So it displays that, or what it really indicates is rendering between this. So whenever the browser rendered frames from here to this point, it wasn't really done in 60 fps, it was done at a frame rate lower than 60 fps. What you get over here right below this is, I think it's called an histogram, I'm not entirely sure, but this graph right below the green bars is basically what is running inside the browser. So I think they have a color code for it as well. So like I think orange is JavaScript. I think purple is, I think it's CSS, that is it's recalculating styles and stuff like that. So you get to see that as well. So what is happening? So if you want to really look at what really happens, so this is basically the click event. So this is what happens when I click on a video. You can just basically debug it, and you can, there are a lot of things that I can go through, but I'm really cutting short on the most important things. So you can click on this and find out an overview or a summary of this particular function. So it took 31 milliseconds for scripting. So basically it's not, and this is scripting is basically means running the JS code. 31 milliseconds it didn't require for its own body to run, but basically for the function calls that it did inside of this function right here. This is a function call which happened. So you can just take a look at where it actually happened, right? So you can just prettify this code and it will probably kill my PC. Yeah, so if I click here, if I set up a breakpoint, and then if I click on this video, it will stop here because this is where the code is running. Performance tab is really good when you have to debug your own code, as well as when you want to look what other people have written. If you get bugs like when you are clicking something is not working, then you can just hit the start the performance recording, stop it once what you want to debug has been accomplished, and then try to go through this stack. So this is basically a stack trace. So this is the outermost function and this is the innermost. So So this function calls this function calls this function calls this, and so on. I really hope that you have understood at a really high level what performance and network tabs do. If you did, please be sure to hit the like button and the subscribe button, because it will help you be a really great JavaScript developer, and possibly Google or Facebook will hire you. Yeah, I have tried that, and for me it didn't work out, but for you it might. Thank you for watching, and sorry for the last joke. If it made you cringe, I'm sorry. Thank you guys for joining, and I'll see you guys in the next one.